At Jackson Water, we are in the game and locked in on our goals. Every day, our dedicated teams are hard at work, ensuring that clean, reliable water flows to every home and business in Jackson. We are not just fixing pipes. We're investing in a brighter, more resilient future for our city. Jackson Water, water for all the time.
And hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for Wlbt Plus. My name is Kara Shirley, your digital news desk host. It is Friday, and we got a very special guest in studio with us today. A lot of you might recognize her. Her name is Sally. Is it Miley? Miley.
Yes.
And Sally is known on TikTok as True Crime Mama.
That's right.
But you're from here in Mississippi.
I am from Mississippi. Yes, I live in Newton County.
Newton County. Now that's not that far.
Not that far
from where I was at. Yeah,
that's right.
Pull this a little closer to you,
Okay.
if you will. So Sally has over 500,000, 500,000 TikTok followers.
That's right.
That is crazy.
It's crazy.
And you've been doing TikTok for how long?
It'll be 2 years in June.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 500,000 in just 2 years. That is absolutely crazy. And then, of course, you're on Facebook as well.
Right. Yes.
And what was it, like 160?
I have 167,000 on Facebook, but I was locked out of that account for 7 months.
Mhm.
So if I had been, if I had that account those 7 months, there's no telling how many I would have, because Facebook seems to gain more followers, interestingly, than TikTok, which is really weird. But
so her name on the platforms is, of course, a True Crime Mama, which I'm sure people will play like, well, I know exactly what she talks about. Let's go ahead and tell us what your platform is about and a little bit about your content.
Well, my content, as my handle says, is about true crime mostly. Sometimes I do cover breaking news stories that are not crime related, but I focus mostly on things that are unsolved, missing persons, sort of as a victim advocate as well, because I feel like there are a lot of stories out there that don't get told. And then there are crimes that were initially ruled, or let's say they were initially ruled something other than what they were, other than a crime. It may have been something that was self-inflicted, or that was thought to be self-inflicted, that we've come to learn that was not, that was actually a homicide. So it's nice to be able to get those stories out and to be able to help victims tell their stories and families of victims to tell those stories.
And in real life, well, I say in real life as if the TikTok isn't real life, which it does. We were just talking about how it doesn't really.
It's
feel
so
like
crazy. No, it does not feel like real life.
But your day job is not a content creator.
No.
What do you do?
I have been a pediatric nurse practitioner for almost 16 years now.
Wow.
And most of that has been in Newton County.
So how do you go from being a pediatric nurse practitioner to having over 500,000 followers on TikTok for true crime?
That is a really good question. I do not know. Growing up, my mom always watched Dateline, 48 Hours, and I was always very interested in those things as well. And I suppose it was because I was exposed to it by my mom. And then as a kid, when I started going to the bookstore and buying books, I would always buy true crime books as a child, which sounds really strange, but that's what I was interested in. And so for years, I had followed true crime groups on Facebook. And one day in June of 2023, I came across this really insane true crime story, kind of as it was happening in real time. And on my lunch break, I decided to go tell it to my 25 TikTok followers. And I woke up the next morning and it had gone viral.
Wow.
And so I never stopped. I just continued.
And so you don't cover just Mississippi cases.
No, I cover mostly inside the United States, but there have been some in other countries that I've covered as well.
How do your family feel about this meteoric rise to TikTok fame, I guess?
I really don't know. My daughter loves it. Yeah. She wants me to live on TikTok live 24/7.
Of course.
But my parents, my sister, I guess they think it's cool. I don't know. We don't really talk about it that much.
Yeah. But if they don't go like, oh yeah, I know her. Oh, that's my daughter, or something like
I
that.
don't think so.
My mom does that. She's like, that's my daughter. I'm like, thanks, Mom. I appreciate you being proud, but it's kind of embarrassing. So I'm not.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure they're proud of me, but we don't really talk about it that much.
So how do you how do you decide? Because there is a almost never ending supply of true crime, unfortunately. But how do you decide what it is you are going to talk about and what you're not?
There is a never ending supply. And unfortunately, because it's not my full-time job, I have to turn down a lot of people that send in requests. And so that is one way. People will message me, sometimes victims, sometimes suspects. Families of victims will message me and request that I cover cases. And then I also pick my own, just really whatever piques my interest, whether that be something that I read in a Facebook group or something that I saw on the news. Breaking stories like the situation in Texas with the stabbing at the track meet. So anything like that, anything that's bigger, I tend to pick up, or something that I think might be a bigger story, or there might be more to the story, something that I think might need to be dug into a bit more, and then requests. So
lots of questions.
Those are the ways.
I could imagine, especially with having the following that you have, the amount of requests that would come in, or messages.
I get hundreds of requests, and I have to turn a majority of them down, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I hate that, but there are only so many hours in the day.
There are, yes, there are. And as a pediatric nurse practitioner, that I'm sure that takes up a majority of your hours.
It does. It takes me about 30 minutes to drive to work and home from work, so an hour there, and then I'm there for 9 hours. So that's about 10 hours of my day is doing my full-time job.
See, that it blows my mind. It just absolutely blows my mind. So you've gotten to that kind of fame on TikTok and doing these true crime stories. What is, and I don't want to say your favorite case that you've covered or anything,
ones that
like
I'm most interested in.
Yeah, like which one really stands out to you that you remember?
So in Mississippi, I would say Chandra May. She went missing in 1986, and then her body was found shortly after. And there has been recent news from Scott County Sheriff's Office that they feel pretty confident that they know who's responsible, but for some reason we've still not seen any legal action there, and that's very frustrating. I can imagine, especially for her family that is still alive. But in the country, Jennifer Kessie, she disappeared from Orlando, I believe, in 2006, and she has never been found. Brian Schaefer from, I believe, Columbus, Ohio. He walked into a bar and there's no footage of him leaving, but he's never been seen since then. So those are just a few of the ones. I could go on all day about cases that interest me, but
so, but I get, people message you or, try request that you cover their stories. But if it's a story, like for instance, what happened over in Texas with the stabbing, where do you just get your information from news sources, or do you have other ways? Let me know your sources, girl. No, I'm joking. No, but how do you get the info on these cases?
Well, of course, FOIA, getting police reports and things like that, and then accessing court documents through whatever online system the courts in that particular state uses. And then I oftentimes do have a lot of individuals reach out, and I will vet those people as best I can to make sure that they are who they say that they are, and that they're giving me accurate info. I can, of course, check that next to the police report, to the court records, and to what other sources are saying.
Yeah.
So lots of ways to get information.
Because I know the ways that we would get information here, but with you being not part of a larger media source, so you wonder, are there different things, or how do you go about the vetting process or anything like that, especially working 9 hours a day? I am, and I'm going to keep going back to it just because I know. I don't know personally, but I know how much time it goes into not only the career path that you have, but getting to that place, all of the schooling that you had to go through, all of that. And so to have this fame and have this kind of like side job and have to do all of this stuff, all of this vetting and stuff. Do you ever
I don't sleep much.
do you ever sleep? Yeah.
I sleep about 4 or 5 hours a night, and that's it.
Wow. So what would be probably, I guess, the hardest case that you have covered, trying to get correct information or anything like that? Probably a lot.
Yes, there are a lot. There definitely are a lot. I don't know. That's hard to say.
Yeah.
I feel like I keep going back to the Texas track meet stabbing, but I feel like that's so fresh, and there are so many opinions out there. And that's definitely been one that's, with it being so fresh, hard to get a lot of accurate information on. So that for sure.
You talk about the opinions. There's so many opinions out there. How do you, maybe not combat, but how do you deal with those who may not agree with the way that you were portraying things, or are negative, or the quote unquote haters that can be out there? How do you deal with that?
I have a lot of that right now in my inbox, actually, on another case. You know, sometimes I do have to block people. I try not to, because I really believe that people should be able to comment what they want to comment, as long as it's respectful. You don't have to agree with me. 90% of the time, if somebody has a different opinion and they see things differently and they can present that to me, I can usually see that side of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super black and white. I can see the gray area most of the time. And I just try to stay out of the comments. And so if I don't see it, I don't know it's happening. But when it comes to my inbox, because I do read every single message I get, that makes it a little more difficult. And I try to just have a calm, reasonable conversation with the person, which is sometimes hard in a message, but I try that. And most of the time we can end up kind of seeing where each other is coming from and have some mutual respect and just move forward.
With not only with the having this large following on TikTok, but what are some of the other ways that gaining this following has changed your life? Is it a lot?
I wouldn't say so.
Really?
No.
Does ABC always call you, or news networks always call you to talk? No.
Okay. Well, those ways, I guess that is true. Yeah. I mean, there definitely are some perks, especially with TikTok and doing TikTok shop stuff. I don't have to buy any cosmetic products or any body care products, any perfume, like pretty much everything sent to me for free, which is nice. That is nice.
Yes.
But yes, I will be on a Hulu special at some point this year. Hopefully it will come out this year. And so that was a kind of a free trip to New York. ABC did pay my way there and my place to stay to film that. So there have been some changes. Also, probably the biggest thing is, prior to TikTok, I would have never been here doing this ever. Ever. I did not even want to record a happy birthday for my boss probably a month or two prior to recording my first TikTok, because I was just lots of social anxiety. So that in those ways, it has changed me. And I would say more confidence for sure.
Yeah. Well, you've got to have that confidence to kind of be in this industry, I guess, where you're putting your face out there.
You do. And I did not have it before, but I don't know. I guess I felt safe talking to my cell phone.
Yeah.
And just over the last almost 2 years, I have gained a lot more confidence with speaking and doing things like this.
Yeah. And you've gotten to go to some different TikTok events as well, right?
I've only been to one. I think I've only been to one, but I'm going to another one next month. So
and outside of the light that you're bringing to some of these cases, which I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that may be related to it, or related to one of the victims that you're talking about or bringing light to, that appreciate the light being brought to it. But how are there any other ways that you're using your platform for good? Did I just put you on the spot?
Yeah, you did put me on the spot.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, all I can really do is just tell the story and hope that, actually, let me take that back. There is a very big case in another state that I've done a lot of work on.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of victims reach out to me. And then about a month ago, I had an email from that state police, one of the detectives over that case, wanting my victim list. And so I feel like in those ways, that's helpful. And so I, of course, immediately provided that victim list and all of the contact information for all of the victims that had reached out to me, because I think sometimes people feel more comfortable reaching out to just a TikToker,
Right.
you know? And so I also feel that that's a way that sometimes I might get more information than you might get,
Mm-hmm.
because people don't think about, well, I'm going to, message you.
Right.
And maybe they do, but I feel like for some reason we feel more accessible and people feel like they have more in common with just a TikToker.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll get a lot of messages.
Yeah. And I get you keep saying that. I mean, we're just people.
We are
here
just
too.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there with us being the type of media organization that we are, there are different rules and parameters and things that we have to stay within, versus someone who, I guess some people could maybe classify you or say you like an independent journalist or something like that. And so there's different rules where you may be able to cover something that we can't until we have
approval,
approval or a certain amount of making sure that it is verified or vetted. Not that you don't vet or verify, but there's just different rules and stuff that we have to follow, which is fun because I feel like there's a place at the table for everyone.
Right. I do my best. I see Ashley commenting.
Ashley, well, here, let's pull her. Ashley here saying just being a voice for victims and their families is a huge blessing. Love that. Love that. So is that someone that you have helped out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I have shared her son Alex's story. Yes.
Tell me about Alex's story.
I don't remember what year he went missing, but he's been missing in Holmes County or from Holmes County. Ashley, will you comment the year? Because I don't remember the year.
Oh, look,
that's my daughter and that's my boss.
Hi,
Jill
Mom.
is my boss.
Your work family. Love that.
Hello, Bella, and hello, Jill.
Love it's the support. Support means so much. But outside of the year, tell me more about Alex's story.
So Alex had been going through a tough time. He was visiting his mom 2022. So not that long ago. He had spent the day visiting his mom. He was living up in Holmes County, renting a house from an individual who he was friends with. And I say friends very lightly. And so Ashley drove him back to Holmes County that day, dropped him off at the home of the friend, not the home where he was living, but the home of the friend. And he's never been seen since then. And I don't want to say anything I shouldn't say, but it's very frustrating. I know it's frustrating for me. So I cannot imagine how frustrating it is for Ashley, because there's no reason that his case should not be solved other than someone not doing their job.
All right.
That's my opinion.
And that is her.
That's my opinion.
And that's what, like, I wore this shirt today with
allegedly.
So it's like, this is the word, like, this is well, number one, you don't, without being there or being the one in the,
that's right,
in the trenches of the investigation, you don't really know. But so we have to preface everything with allegedly. If we don't have those, we don't know for sure that it's true.
That's right. We have to preface lots of things.
Yeah.
Lots of things.
So have you ever had anyone, I guess, threaten for legal action?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I definitely have. And it's really strange because one that sticks out in my head that happened with, the information that I shared was what was shared on the local news where this occurred. It was not a crime. It was just two brothers were out in California. I can't remember what they were out looking for, maybe antler shed or something. And they ended up being attacked by a mountain lion.
Oh my goodness.
And one was killed, sadly, and the other one survived, but barely. And it was just a really crazy, tragic story. And I shared the story, and got lots of threats, lots of really ugly messages. And so of course I immediately took the video down
Yeah.
because my intention is not to cause that sort of a reaction with victims,
Mhm.
family and loved ones and friends. So I did take that video down, but I have gotten some, not a lot, but some. And there have been times that I've had to screenshot things that I've commented or responded to a comment on and send it to, lawyer friends like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm getting some threats of legal action here. Is this okay? This is what I said. I think it's fine. And everything's been fine.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's talk about you being out in the public. Do you get recognized out in the public?
sometimes I do.
How does that feel?
I don't go out a lot, really and truly. I mean, I really don't have time to. I'm
Right,
either at
yeah.
work or I'm at home creating content. And if I do, I'm traveling typically in Europe.
Mhm.
So people over there don't know who I am. But there have been a few times in Sephora at the Renaissance that I've been recognized. And usually it's when somebody hears my voice, not so much sees my face.
Yeah.
And it happened really early on. I don't even know how many followers I had when it happened the first time. And I think I was just as much shocked as the person was that was seeing me. So it's fun. I like to meet followers.
Yeah. I had kind of relate when I first got into broadcasting and radio, and the first time that someone recognized me, I was like,
Who, me?
You're talking to me. You haven't even seen my face. You just heard my voice. What? And so it's neat. It's flattering.
Right.
As that someone would remember you when they don't have a reason to, really, or anything like that.
Right.
So let's transition to talking about the possibility of a TikTok ban. No, that's probably something that nobody wants to talk about, especially when you have such a large following on TikTok. What are your plans should that happen? Do you have any plans or any thoughts on that?
Well, in December, when the DC Court of Appeals first made their ruling against TikTok, I was super stressed because at that time I was still locked out of my Facebook. I had not really done any work on my YouTube account and had no idea about any of these other platforms that are kind of in the beta testing phases right now.
Mm-hmm.
I was very stressed, but it has worked out so far, and I believe that it will continue to work out. I don't know how.
Yeah.
Trump might just continue to sign extensions for the remainder of his term. That would not surprise me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could repeal the ban, and I think that's a possibility. I mean, if at this point, if it happens, it happens. I'll pivot and I'll be fine. I'm not that worried about it.
I mean, because there was life before TikTok. Even it would be a little different.
It would be a lot different. It would be a lot different. But there's still Facebook, and I really do need to start posting more on my YouTube channel. It's just long form content is hard. It's hard.
I know.
It's very time consuming.
Yes, it can be. And like we say, you've got 10 hours a day at least devoted to your
Correct.
full-time job.
Yes.
The one that you went to school for.
Correct. Yes.
So it's just have any of your patients recognized you? Are they too young?
Most of them are too young, but now the parents do. And I have some parents that every time they come in, they'll ask, they want to know about the TikTok. They want to know about my TikTok, what I'm doing. But for the most part, no, my patients are too young.
Yeah. So I saw on your TikTok page that you're doing a trip to Portugal.
Yes.
With some TikTok followers, right?
Well, with anyone, but yes, mostly followers. There is an influencer that I followed for probably more than a decade that she does these trips twice a year. And so I went on one with her back in October. We went to Crete, and that was sort of my way of just checking it out to make sure that was something I wanted to put my name on. And we had the best time. So I decided I would try it out.
See, I kind of have the same kind of situation. I met a TikToker, Jen Cruz Confessions. I don't know if you all heard. Yes. So became friends with her on TikTok. She got knew about me from the coverage that we did here over the Carly Gregg case. And that's how she knew about me. And then I knew about her because I was going on a cruise and I just found her. But then we ended up being friends but had never met in person until we decided to go on a cruise together. And so it was like going on a cruise with a stranger, staying in the same cabin, which it worked out great. She's amazing and I love her and friends. But it's crazy. Even you and I,
Right.
meeting over TikTok and talking over TikTok and everything. It's crazy how the social media, the internet friends can become real life.
Oh,
friends.
absolutely. Because I have a whole group of true crime TikTok friends that we have a text group and we text all day, every day. But yes, I can definitely relate to traveling with strangers because when I went on the Crete trip, I knew no one. And to get a single room, it was $1,000 more, which was, I was already paying a good bit for the trip. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a go. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. And it was amazing.
It's something,
wouldn't change a thing about it.
Something about being able to get in front of the camera, even if you're just sitting in a room and it's just you talking to the camera, but gaining that confidence. But it also gives you that the confidence to try those crazy things that you probably wouldn't have done.
I would have never done it
prior to having the following.
I would have never done it. I've traveled solo in Europe and much more comfortable doing that than with a group of people I don't know, but had the best time and it was awesome.
So would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm definitely an introvert.
I seem to have find or discovered in my own investigation, if you want to call it that, but most of the time people that are social media famous and like real life outside of the social media, they are very much introverts. And so I think that's a crazy dynamic that it happens.
I'm the person at the party that's in the corner of the room, people watching. Not talking to anyone, just in the corner, people watching. That is me.
You people watching now, you're taking notes. I'm like, okay,
yes.
I see what you're doing. All right. Yeah. You let something happen. No, I'm joking. Yeah. We'll bring you up on the channel. Let's look. Yes, there she is. Jen Lynn. She says, hey, that's me. That's my friend.
Hey,
my stranger that I went on a cruise with.
I think I follow her and I don't think I realized she is from Mississippi. Yes.
Yes. She's from this area.
I don't think I realized that until you told me that she was, one of the ones that may come on.
Yeah, she is from here. She is. I do plan on having her on the show. Have Papa Mississippi, which is no relation to Mama here.
right.
I'm talking to him. Going to be having him on. It's just because I think it's fascinating the world that social media has created for so many people, to where it's made the pediatric nurse practitioner who normally wouldn't have gotten on the side of the camera. Social media has made you a star, if you will.
I would not say that at all. I'm completely normal. I know people, when I respond to messages, sometimes I get, oh my gosh, I am so honored that you responded to me. And I'm like, I am a normal person. I still shop at Walmart. I still do everything a normal person does, still have bills. Like nothing's different. I just have a lot of followers on TikTok.
That's what people used to say back in Meridian. They were like, oh, you're a celebrity. I'm like, I am not. No. Like back then I was like, I'm just a girl from Collinsville. Like, that's all. I'm just a girl from Collinsville. I don't even know what I'm doing here. How did I wind up here?
That's exactly how I feel every day. Like, how is this my life? And I'm super thankful that it is, but I don't understand how it happened.
So do you have any cases right now that that you have not put any videos out about, but that you're working on that you can tell about?
Not that I probably know enough about to tell you about.
Okay. That's fair.
Because
I can respect that totally.
Yeah. I have a lot that I'm working on. A lot of my work happens on Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday. And so I get off work early on Fridays. Of course, I took off today to come do this, but I get off work at 11:30. And then, so I'll work on Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday. So of course, this weekend, I'll spend a lot of time diving into a couple of them who have sent in requests that I've agreed to share stories on.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough about them to be able to talk about them.
Yeah. I totally respect that, because if you don't know, then you shouldn't say.
That's right.
you don't know, then you should say. I think that's one thing that people sometimes they may believe that we are automatically given all of the details of stuff and we choose what to put out and what not to put out. And while that can be true in some cases or some instances, depending upon what the story is, sometimes we don't know.
Right.
We can't give you the information we don't know, or if it hasn't been vetted.
That's exactly right.
So we want to make sure that we don't have to say the word allegedly a lot. That what we're saying, we know what we're saying is true.
Yeah, but you are right. On the flip side of that, there are lots of times that I know a lot more than I'm putting out, and I have vetted it, and it is confirmed. But sometimes you just out of respect for the victim or whatever, you just don't want to share everything.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's great. I love you coming on. I so appreciate you coming on and talking to us. Taking the day off work, coming in, especially considering the work that you do. I mean, it can't be easy to tell a patient, oh, I can't see you today. I've got to go on Wlbt plus.
Well, thankfully my boss, Jill, is awesome. And she let me have the day off. Yes. So
thank you, Jill. I appreciate you very, very much.
She's awesome.
Yeah. Well, again, this is Sally Miley, but you know her as True Crime Mama. So you're True Crime Mama on TikTok, True Crime Mama on Facebook, and is it True Crime Mama on YouTube as well?
Yes.
And I got this where I can pull it up and show everybody this. Here we go.
Yes. I'm also on Clapper, on
hold on,
Neptune. They're Instagram.
So here's her TikTok page, and then make sure Facebook. Now you're getting to see behind the scenes of mine, and here she is on Facebook as well with her 167,000 followers. I know that sounds like a big number and impressive. I have 3,100 followers, just 3,100.
Facebook is so strange. I mean, I guess it's very similar to TikTok, but there was one night last May that in one night on Facebook, I gained 26,000 followers in one night.
And you wonder, do you know where it comes from?
I think that was the Micah Miller case.
That was a very big case, especially in the true crime.
Yes.
I mean, just not just true crime, but in the national news cycle. That was a very, very, very big case. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I could see
26,000 in a night. That was wild.
Yes. That's a lot. Mm-hmm. That is a lot. Well, again, we thank you so much for coming on today. It has been a joy to talk to you, to get to meet you in person and not just through the screen, the camera screen. I don't know how you feel about it, but we're friends now.
We are friends.
Okay, great.
Yes.
I have another friend. So that as an introvert, you're kind of like, will you be my friend? No, but no, I appreciate you coming on, and I hope to have you back on again. Of course, make sure you go follow her on all of her social media channels, especially Facebook and YouTube, just in case something happens with TikTok. You never know, but just in case, go follow her on all of her social media platforms. Follow her content, because the way to support you is by following you.
That's right.
But not in a stalker way. Like, not down the street, just on social media.
Please no.
Please don't.
No one wants to have to deal with my daddy. So no,
not the daddy.
That would be a no.
Yeah. Well, guys, that is going to be it for WLBT Plus today. Be here at 2:30 today for our First Alert weather team. They're going to be able to give you that in-depth look at our forecast, especially the rain that we are expecting over the weekend. And there's a lot of fun things happening in our area this weekend. Not that she'll be able to go to any of it because she'll be too busy doing research,
creating content.
Yeah. It's all consuming sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
It definitely is. Sometimes I have to force myself to put my phone down, and
which can be hard.
It can be
hard. Yeah,
it can be.
Hard. But again, be here at 2:30 today for our First Alert weather team, so they can tell you about the forecast and what's happening this weekend, what we can expect. And again, Sally, True Crime. I don't know. I was like, do I call her Mama? Do I call her Sally? I'll just call you Sally.
Yes.
Yeah. We're friends now.
That's right.
Yeah, Sally. Mm-hmm. But Sally, thank you so much for coming on. You guys that are watching, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I will be back on Monday at 1, and I will see you then. Bye, y'all.